1. We will call the Committee on Public Safety, Judiciary, and Homeland Security to order at 11:04. Do roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson Mayberry. Commissioner Clemente.
Here.
Commissioner Ahmad has requested an excuse. Commissioner Dodd.
Here.
Chair Garza.
Here.
You have a quorum present.
Thank you. Next item, please.
B, Chair's remarks.
I have none. Next item, please.
C, approval of the July 22nd, 2026 meeting minutes.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Clemente, supported by Commissioner Peterson Mayberry. Please vote on your tablets.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next item, please.
D, unfinished business. There is none listed.
Next item, please.
Item 1, under new business, requesting commission approval of retroactive amendment 6 to a contract with the 1-year option to renew with Summit Food Service to continue food service for adult and juvenile inmates.
All right, we'll welcome Mr. Wagner, Vanita, up to the table, please.
Through the chair, good morning, Aaron Wagner, Procurement Director.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Benita Terry.
I don't think that one's working. You have to grab the one there.
Yeah. Good morning again, Benita Terry, Chief of Administration for the Sheriff's Office. So come before you this morning requesting approval for amendment number 6 for Summit Food Service contract. Summit Food Service provides food services to our adult facility as well as juvenile facility. This amendment will take us through, it's a 1-year renewal option we're doing, as well as a 1-year extension to take us through January of 2028. Total cost for this amendment is $13,508,479, whereas the adult facility is $12,308,479, and the juvenile is $1.2 million. I would like to say, as far as the retro piece, because it did expire in January of this year, we were collecting documents. We started working on this in November of last year. However, we just were able to finally get it through the finish line in August, unfortunately.
Okay.
Through the chair, I'd like to just give a little bit of background on this. This solicitation went out originally quite some time ago. When the construction of the CJC was occurring, we had made the decision to extend that. So it would continue operations. We weren't bringing in a new supplier while we were moving at the same time. COVID also hit during that time period and extended everything out. This contract does have a 1-year option that did exist that we would be extending through next year. We've opted to take it out 1 additional year to give us time to actually pull together the solicitation and be able to then, once this is done, move on to a new contract, whomever wins the solicitation of that. So there was a strategy in this. The Sheriff's Office is currently going through a solicitation for their inmate phones and communication piece. So this will allow us to, that's a fairly major piece of the operation. Focus on that solicitation, then pivot to this one. Also, too, the commissary is going to be pulled forward, so the food and commissary will go out at the same time. That was a strategy behind the additional year on top of what the existing amendment was.
Okay. Has the vendor been being paid since this retro activity?
Unfortunately, the vendor has not been paid by the adult facility on our side because of no contract in place. So that's why we're coming to the table today for your approval, and then also to receive exigent approval so we could get their invoices in the system this week and have payment go out to the vendor next week. They've been a great partner during this time frame and continue to work with us.
Okay. Are there commissioner questions on this item? Commissioner Peterson Mayberry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Approximately how many people are in the adult facility right now currently?
About 1325.
1325. You don't have the youth number, right? The juvenile number?
I don't.
Okay, we'll get that from Director Deere. And then you said the adult facility has not paid, but the youth has.
The
juvenile-
youth was able to process a payment, I believe. They're only 100 and some thousand right now that's outstanding.
Okay, so they were able to get theirs. And then the last question, and I think Mr. Wagner addressed already about the open bid. So this local facility is in Bagley. That's the same building that DAAA and Sun Valley is in, 1980 Bagley. That's the local office.
That's what I was told as their local office.
So is Sun Valley doing, I know Sun Valley on here is a sub, but are they doing who? So is Summit doing it or is Sun Valley doing it?
So Summit is the company. Sun Valley delivers. They're bring the food, and I believe that's how it goes.
Kevin Tolbert, Chief of Staff, Wayne County Sheriff's Office. And thank you, Chair, and thank you, Commissioner. Sun Valley provides the food and Summit prepares the food.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Clementi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With this retro activity, and is there any type of extra fees or interest that's going to be charged
No.
at all? No. Okay, so they're working with us and we just want to get this
Yes.
fixed. Okay, thank you very much.
Any additional commissioner comments or questions? Anything else, Ms. Terry, Chief of Staff?
Through the chair, just on these retroactive contracts, my team is working, especially as we're moving off of TCM into Oracle, so things will be integrated. We're going to have a better reporting system, so we're going to get on top of these ahead of time. So it's not becoming so egregious with a retroactive contract and it moving forward.
Sure. Thank you. We appreciate that. Thank you. All right. I will entertain a motion for this item. We have a motion by Commissioner Clementi for approvals, seconded by Commissioner Dobb. Please vote on your tablets. Oh,
Motion carried.
thank you.
Commissioners.
Thank you all. Appreciate you. All right. Next item, please.
Item 2, requesting commission approval of Amendment 2 to a fiscal year 2022 post-conviction testing of DNA evidence project grant agreement with the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Justice Programs, Bureau of Justice Assistance.
All right. Welcome, Tony.
Good morning, all. Through the chair, I'm Tony Guerrero, Chief of Legislation, Grants, and Community Relations for Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy, and I'm here to address item number 2. We're merely asking to extend the term on this to September the 30th of 2027, rather than leaving this hanging out there. It is a grant between us, being Wayne County, and the U.S. Department of Justice. The importance of this grant is the total amount of $796,309 is not changing. We're merely asking this body to approve extending the end of this particular contract to September 30th of 2027. This will cover the cost of 1 part-time detective, 3 law interns, and a subaward to the Thomas Cooley Law School Innocence Project. There's the good news also is of the $796,309, there's no county match. That's just clear funds. I will entertain any questions that the committee may have.
Great. If there's any questions for commissioners. All right. I think you did a great job, Tony. So we have a motion by Commissioner Peterson Mayberry, supported by Commissioner Dobb. Please vote on your tablets.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate you.
I think you're going to get stuck with me through the next one.
Next item, please.
Item 3, an overview of the Prosecutor's Office Deed Fraud Unit by Prosecutor Kim Worthy.
Good morning again, Tony Guerrero on behalf of the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. I have to apologize to the committee because Madam Prosecutor had knee surgery, so she's unable to be here today.
Okay.
But we are ably represented by Latoya Willis, the director of our deed fraud unit, and I'm just going to ride along while she makes a presentation to you all.
Excellent. Well, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning to you all. Good morning. I am Latoya Willis. I am the lead attorney over the mortgage and deed fraud unit under the supervision of Prosecutor Worthy. And I just wanted to give a overview or just a brief overview of what the mortgage and deed fraud unit is. So historically speaking, let me slow down so that we can get to the PowerPoint. Unfortunately, I can, okay. Yes,
Commissioner, we will have them sent to not only the committee, but we'll have them sent to all the commissioners.
Thank you.
okay, so let's go to, I think, number 3. So the Wayne County Mortgage and Deed Unit is a task force that was originally established back in 2005. And when it was established as a collaboration between the Wayne County Prosecutor, the Wayne County Sheriff, and the Wayne County Register of Deeds. And it's a first of its kind, not just in the state, but really throughout the U.S. And it's a collaboration where those 3 offices are basically working together to combine their resources to focus solely on mortgage fraud and deed fraud. And so that's what the purpose of this unit has been. Since its inception through the end of 2025, the task force has investigated over 2,511 complaints, which have resulted in more than 542 arrests, warrants, 404 homes being returned. And we have collected over $1.5 million in restitution for victims. That money that's collected does not include money that's ordered as restitution. Oftentimes, there are individuals that are going to serve jail sentences or prison sentences, and there's restitution that's ordered but not collected at the time. And so the 1.5 million is actual money that's put back directly into the pockets of individual complainants. The task force consists of assistant prosecutors, Wayne County Prosecutor Office investigators, and there's a Register of Deeds executive that also participates in the unit. We are housed over in 400 Monroe, over in the Fishbone building, and all of our cases are vertically investigated, meaning that the prosecutor that reviews the warrant is also the prosecutor that goes to court for the warrant, does the exams and does the trials all the way through. We also work with, though most of our cases are investigated in-house with the investigators that are assigned to the prosecutor, we do work with the FBI, and we work with HUD and the Inspector General in some of our cases, and the Michigan State Police. So next, did you know, since its inception, the task force, I've gone over this, I'm sorry, has collected over $1.5 million. But one thing to note is that the task force receives a large volume of complaints every year. Usually there are at least 1,000 calls per year that are fielded by the office. Those 1,000 calls are then kind of whittled down to cases that we would investigate. They're then assigned to an investigator to determine whether there's actually something that can be prosecuted. In 2022, through 2025, we had over 50 homes returned to rightful owners based on those investigations that were taken. So a lot of times when you talk about deed fraud or you talk about a house being stolen, the reaction that you get is kind of like a quizzical look. Like, what do you mean? How does one steal an entire house? And so, it's a common reaction, and the answer to it is actually quite simple. It's too easy. It's frightfully easy, and it involves basically paperwork. And so, deed fraud is essentially happens when anyone forges any part of a portion of a deed. It often happens when individuals are forging grantors' signatures. You may have deceased individuals that are being, listed on deeds as having transferred ownership of property. The deed actually does not have to be recorded for the forgery to occur. But once the deed has been recorded, then that's additional charges. So once a deed is like the forgery of the deed itself, that's forgery. That's a 14-year felony. But once the deed is recorded, that's also an uttering and publishing, which is a 14-year felony. And it's also a recording of a fraudulent document. So the charges just kind of add up once the document has been recorded. The process, a lot of people want to know how or why are forged documents recorded, and the Register of Deeds operates under a statute. And so Register of Deeds is required by law to record any document that is presented to it for recording, so long as it meets certain legal requirements. And I often tell, individuals when I'm, having a trial, that you literally could have a document that is from Mickey Mouse to Donald Duck, as long as it meets the legal requirements of, the font type, the margins, and a notary's name is listed on there. The notary doesn't even have to be a real notary that exists. And so those documents are recorded. The Register of Deeds is prevented from reviewing the substance of those documents under our current statutes. So examples of deed fraud. Most often what you see are family members who transfer property after one family member has died. So some people are under the understanding or think that, if grandma dies, and we can just sign grandma's name to a deed and transfer it over to someone. That's absolutely not the case. And so we see a lot of disputes among family members, where one family member will forge, a family member's name to a document, and then you have the rest of the family members that are basically like, no, that house was not intended to go to you, and that's not grandma's name that's on that deed. We also have a lot of fraudulent transfers that happen, where individuals will just pick a house, any house, and create a document saying that I'm transferring this house to, from myself to Commissioner Garza, and I don't own any interest in that document. You don't know it, and so you pay me money for it, and the fraud has occurred. We don't see as much of the mortgage fraud anymore. That was big several years back, not so much. But mortgage fraud occurs whenever you basically falsify any information on a mortgage document. And so we do see those, but not quite as much. We see a lot of fraudulent transfers dealing with these deeds, where you have tax foreclosed homes, tax distressed homes, or homes that kind of look abandoned. And so I'm going to go forward. The most common laws under which we prosecute are uttering and publishing, which are 14-year felony, false pretenses over $20,000, which is a 10-year felony, forgery of a document, which is a 14-year felony, embezzlement, criminal enterprise. We often get rackets. So these individuals are not just selling one house that doesn't belong to them, they're selling several houses that don't belong to them. And in those circumstances, we're often able to charge a conducting of a criminal enterprise, because there are often several houses that have been fraudulently transferred, and several individuals who have been fleeced into paying money for these houses. We deal with a lot of crimes involving false identification or ID theft, which are 10-year and 5-year felonies. And for the notary publics, we charge notaries who, unfortunately, you know, many notaries who have their notary commission have no idea about what they are supposed to or not supposed to be notarizing. And so we have some notaries that are complicit in the act of forgery, and then we have others who are just totally ignorant to it. But we charge the notaries who forge or participate in the forgery of the documents, and that is now a 4-year felony. So some of the myths that we see surrounding the deed fraud is that nobody really cares about paper crimes. A lot of people think that, you know, they can just kind of forge a document and it'll never come to light. Nobody will really cares about it. But this task force is 100% committed, and all of our resources go solely to the prosecution of exactly that type of crime. And so we realize, and Prosecutor Worthy realizes, the impact that these type of crimes have on individuals. I've often said that sometimes I think individuals would rather you just come stick them up and steal something from them than to steal their house. You know, your house is your greatest asset. It's where you live. It's where you're providing shelter for your family. And once that gets tied up in this type of mess, it's often difficult and creates chaos for the individuals that are being victimized. And so that is one of the myths, that nobody cares. The other is that, you know, people often think that it's too difficult for the government to prosecute paper crimes. And while these crimes are indeed complicated, paper intensive, and involve long investigation, they're really not that complicated when you get down to it, because everything's on paper. And I love to follow a paper trail. You know, when you have it there on paper, you know, you often say when you have to present a witness, credibility is sometimes at issue, but when it's on paper, it's just on paper. And so the prosecution of these crimes are not as difficult as some criminals think. Other people think that, you know, you don't go to jail or you don't go to prison for these. I will say that when the unit was first started, the crimes were not, the statutes for the crime, the penalties were not as high. But for most of our crimes now, 14-year felonies, even if you don't have a prior record, you will likely fall within a jail cell straddle for sentencing or prison. And so we often have individuals that are indeed doing prison time for these crimes. The other is that, and I kind of touched on it before, it's okay to transfer property after the death of a relative so that you can avoid probate. That's absolutely not true. And it's actually something that a lot of people are under. I actually had someone call me just the other day and ask, could you do that? And no, you can't do that. So the signing of a dead relative's name to a document is forgery. So some of the things that I like to let individuals know is, it's kind of my buyer's beware list, and that is this: a quitclaim deed does not guarantee ownership of a property. You know, individuals will say, hey, I own this house. I'm sorry. Which part? Okay, so, yeah. So
That's okay, Commissioner.
no worries. No, so it's a very big misunderstanding, but a quitclaim deed, you know, people, you get your paper, you've got the deed, and you're like, this is my house. No, a quitclaim deed only conveys the interest that someone else had in a property. And our case law as it stands indicates that I could do a quitclaim deed today from myself to Mrs. Peterson Mayberry on a house that I don't own. And all I'm conveying is zero interest, the zero interest that I have. Yes. So a quitclaim deed essentially only conveys interest that a person has in a property, whether that be 0% interest or whether that's 100% interest. Which is why when you see major transactions, It's a warranty deed. You want to get a warranty deed.
That's exactly where we were going. The warranty deed guarantees that, excuse me, guarantees that the person conveying that warranty deed has good title to that property. Quitclaim deed, as Latoya said, really just says, I'm giving you any interest I might have in this property, whether I have any or not.
So that, while that in and of itself is not a crime, once I say, I'm selling you this house that I have zero interest in, because I'm certainly not telling you that I have zero interest, but if I sell this house to you and you give me money, then we have a crime that's been committed. So a quitclaim deed does not transfer or guarantee ownership. It does transfer whatever interest I have, but it doesn't guarantee ownership. Paying someone else's taxes does not make you the owner of a property. We have a lot of individuals that will go down to the Wayne County Treasurer's office, pay taxes, and say, I own your house. No, you just paid my taxes. You may have, and you know,
Thank you very much.
right. They could file like a claim of interest on your property after they paid your taxes, but they don't own your property. When you are buying a property, you want to get a title search. You want to pay that money and get a title search to your property. I always tell individuals, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. You know, if you're looking at a house over in a neighborhood and you know this house is going for $250,000 and someone is telling you, I'll sell it to you for $2,000, they probably don't own it. And you want to avoid cash transactions, I say, and you want to get a receipt. So if somebody is only willing to do a cash transaction, I'm a little suspect. I mean, you know, no money order, no cashier's check, no certified funds. It's a little, you know, it's probably a little sketchy. Tips to protect yourself. I suggest to individuals that you check your deed status regularly. I say that you check it like you check your credit report, and hopefully you're checking your credit report regularly. Wayne County Register of Deeds in particular, also has deed fraud alerts where you could sign up to be notified when there's a document that's filed against your property. I highly recommend that you do that. While it does not prevent a document from being filed, it will at least alert you in closer time to when it's being filed so that you know something may be amiss with your property. Keep your original deeds and mortgage and title work in a safe place. You know, a lot of times we purchase a house and we have no idea where the original paperwork is. And if something, you know, should happen where someone files a fraudulent document against your property, you kind of want to have your paperwork handy. If you have properties that are not being occupied, that aren't the house or, you know, property that you're living in, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you do regular checks on it and that you maintain the property, because we often find that the unoccupied, the vacant properties, or the properties that look vacant are the ones that are targeted the most. We do see, but not as often, not as frequently, houses that are occupied or houses that are maintained or houses that the taxes are being kept current on. And so as best as possible, as much as lies within an individual's ability, we say, you know, keep those things current. Certain types of cases that we do not handle are bad business deals. You know, sometimes we have individuals that come to us and they want us to, you know, investigate. Basically, I signed this document, I gave this property over to somebody, but, you know, I don't like the terms of it anymore. We don't handle those. We do have a statute of limitation on our cases, and that has been extended to 10 years on most of them, which is good, but if it extends beyond that, we are not able to take those cases. Statute of limitation. I doubt it. 10-year statute of limitation. We don't handle a collection of rent. If you are, you know, if you're trying to get rent from somebody, we don't do those cases. We don't handle evictions. And some cases that are solely civil in nature, we don't handle. Most of our cases are kind of both. We actually recommend individuals file a quiet title at the same time that we are, you know, looking at a criminal investigation. But then there are others that are just kind of solely civil cases, and we don't handle those. So these are little, even I can't see them right now, but I did kind of just want to give you all an overview of some of the stats of our unit over the years. So when we first began back in, well, closer to the beginning, back in 2007, when some of these numbers started being documented, the unit was staffed with 7 personnel at that time, and we're able to approve about 28 warrants, and we had 12 convictions. What I wanted to show was that as time went on, Prosecutor Worthy at some point in 2010 or so was able to secure a grant. I think it was like $1.5 million, and staff the unit with 18 individuals. When that happened, the number of cases that we were able to handle obviously went up with it. And so as of 2025, we are back to some of our lowest numbers in our staffing, but the number of complaints that we receive has not changed. And so each of our deputies really has about 150 to 170 open investigations. Up until this year, I was the sole prosecutor over in the unit. And so we now have 2 individuals, but many times the question is asked, why does it take so long? That's a large part of the reason that it takes so long for some of these cases to be done. So I just kind of wanted to give you guys just a look at, some of what the staffing is and some of the numbers that we've been able to achieve, even with those low numbers, and the amount of restitution that we've been able to collect. And so if you want to contact me, that's my contact information there. The hotline for individuals to make complaints, generally complaints come through one of 2 ways. There's a deed fraud hotline number that's 224-5869. And complaints can also be made on the website at the Wayne County Register of Deeds office. There's a tab that will take you to submit a complaint, and complaints can be made that way. As I indicated before, our complaints generally initiate or begin with the Register of Deeds office that will take the initial complaint. That individual's name is Sandra Buciero, who is the executive for the Register of Deeds, and the complaints generally come through her. And that's it. If you all have any questions,
All
I'll
right.
answer what
Thank
I
you,
can.
Ms. Willis. We'll start with Commissioner Peterson Mayberry.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Willis. So this has actually become something near and dear. When I first got on the commission, I was made aware of this when I went and sat with different departments. So I spent some time over in the Register of Deeds office, and this was probably one of the things that baffled me the most about how easy this was to occur. So I've done a couple of town halls in my district, District 5, and even collaborated with the chair on one where we had the prosecutor out in the Register of Deeds. And so the alert, so we're doing the alert. I mean, we've probably done almost 200 people, close to 300 people with the alerts in our office. We know how to do that. But I've been talking to state legislators about this because like Public Act 154, like when you look at the laws that need to be changed on how easy it is. I mean, we were all shocked to hear about quitclaims deeds. So I've been talking to a senator in particular who didn't have a deed fraud alert on her property, but now she does. But it's just something we didn't know about. And so out in the community, people are victims of this all the time. Some of them don't know what to do or how to even try, if at all possible. When the Register of Deeds came and talked to us, he talked about how many homes have been returned. But one of the questions, I hear that you don't have enough people on this task force. I think your numbers would be even higher if people knew how to fight. They don't know how to even fight, to even know who to contact. So now they're starting to do that more, and the numbers may go up. But is it something that as a commission we need to advocate for at the state level so that these acts are a bit more difficult to do? I know the most recent case were the 2 individuals. One got like 90 months, I think, and the other, they had stolen over 20 properties, and it was in the news and on social media and all these things. So people now are finding out more about this, but judges have, I guess, some discretion to the penalty. What do you see as the biggest hindrance for this? How can we make it more difficult for people to do? And then if they do it, how does it become more punitive?
So a couple of things that I would say is that one, I think there needs to be better training of notaries. You know, if you cut it off at the notary stage, a lot of it would kind of taper off a bit. No, we have notaries that will notarize a document and say that, well, I thought I was notarizing the person that was receiving the property's signature. You know, they really have a very limited understanding about the process, and so I think that that would be one. Two, I think, you know, there has to be some change, and you know, I'm not the register of deeds, but I think it would be better if, you know, register of deeds throughout the state had the ability to kind of take a look at some of the documents. There are instances where we know that a notary that's listed on a document is not a legitimate notary. This is a made up person. But because they can't look into the substance of the document, it's recorded anyway. So I think that if there was some room for them to actually look a little deeper into the document itself, that would assist. And of course, if there were more funding available to just finance the investigation and the prosecution of these type of crimes.
And so that's what other states, so I've been really researching this, and there's a variety of things happening like in California, New York, and even Illinois, where they have departments strictly, this is all they do. This is all that they do, and they have put some parameters in at a state level so that it is something that is followed and legal in every city within that state. So I do look forward to that. And even the documents in themselves, in terms of, you know, fraudulent documents is one thing, but how do we even make the documents more official when people come down? You know, like a birth certificate or a marriage license, there's a creed, there's a watermark, there's all the things. But I think it also goes back to what you said about the Register of Deeds office needing to be able to look into the documents. When the Register of Deeds came before us, there was also something they mentioned that when they do their investigation in their office and then they hand over to the prosecutors, then oftentimes there may be a communication gap in terms of if things were actually, you know, where they are, you know, were they deemed to be something that went further, or was it dismissed, or things of that nature. So I don't know if something like that is also in the thought process to close the gap between the two offices.
Well, you guys reinvestigate what they give you to make sure
Right.
it's legit.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Maybe I'm not even sure that I'm understanding exactly.
So what the Register of Deeds feared is that when they are doing their investigative work, I'll just use that term for whatever they classify to be investigative work on their end. But when something is deemed flagged and is handed to the prosecutor's office, if people reach out to them and they say, well, we've given it to the prosecutor's office, but they don't know kind of where things are at that point, if they're kind of in the queue, if they've been prosecuted. And so they just mentioned about that when I was there, and even when he came before us for during the budget hearings, that there might be a communication gap between the two offices in terms of the cases.
Okay.
So I just wanted to lift that up. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you,
And thank you, Ms.
Commissioner.
Willis.
Yes. Commissioner Clemente.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for coming here and educating us about this. Of course, I am aware of it. And do I have anything on my? No, not yet. I have to do that. Yeah, thank you. Is there, what was I going to ask you? So there was funding, there was a grant, of course, Prosecutor Worthy is always finding us money. Is that, obviously we don't have that anymore. Is it something that's just not reoccurrent, or we didn't get it again? Or do you know anything, Tony, I'm looking at you, like, do you know anything about what happened to that grant money that would help our mortgage and deed fraud unit?
That was back in 2010. So yeah,
Been quite a
it's
while.
been quite some time.
They just, no one's offered.
Was never never able to. I'm sure just weren't able to obtain a renewal, because I'm sure if Prosecutor Worthy were able, we would have had it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Commissioner, if I may,
Yes, go right ahead.
this is one of the areas where we, as a prosecuting attorney's office, would love to see the commission lobbying or at least suggesting to our legislators that, first of all, we need that grant resurrected so that we can put more people and resources on this. Prosecutor Worthy was well aware, and we're very fortunate to have LaToya because she is the most knowledgeable on the planet on this particular subject. But Prosecutor Worthy knew that there was so much concern about this deed fraud. That's the reason we're here today, even without her presence.
Yeah.
But before I forget, the entire PowerPoint will be sent to all the commission members, not merely the committee. We'll take care of that today.
Thank you. Yeah, because I'm,
Thank you.
you're saying I'm looking at your website and the cases are the inquiries and the open cases. There's quite a few. So when something comes in and there's not many people to get, how do people find out, yes, this is valid and we're working on it, or no, you need to go somewhere else?
So our process is, the initial complaint is made through the executive of the Register of Deeds. If it meets a certain basic criteria, it's then forwarded to, me.
Okay.
I will then assign those out to the 3 investigators that we have for them to make a determination about whether or not, this is a viable case that can, they can submit for me to consider charges on. When the investigators first receive the, cases, they generally will send out a letter to the individual complainants, letting them know that we have the case, it's been assigned to an investigator. And we often even suggest like things that they can do in the interim because the investigations do take so long. So we will suggest that you file, a claim of interest, that you initiate your quiet title if you can, and that you file something on the record to let it be known that this is a document that you believe to be a fraud, so that it will prevent it, hopefully, from being sold a second time. And so the investigation is then done by the investigator. They submit the warrant to me, and I'll review and make a determination about whether or not it should be charged.
So that comes snail mail, email, registered mail to the people. How does that get to
The
them?
letters
Yeah, the
are
letters.
sent out by the mail.
Okay. And then the next thing, they have things on them to do. And then if you decide, then that's how the sheriff's office gets involved
So
possibly?
the sheriff's office is not, it's really,
I'm trying to see how the 3 of you work together.
so within the most recent of years, it's really just the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office and the Register of Deeds.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
welcome.
Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Dobb.
Commissioner Clemency asked my question, so I'm
All
good.
right. It's always still in the question. Thank you, Commission. Any additional questions or comments from commissioners on this? I want to thank you, Ms. Willis and Tony. Thank you so much for this. This is very educational for us as we continue to delve into this issue as it's becoming more talked about. And obviously the advocacy to our legislature is very important on this issue as well. I think a lot of members probably in the legislature don't even have much of an idea about this. So I think it's important for us to continue to advocate on behalf. Commissioner Clement.
Mr. Chair, thank you. So on that point, if we are reaching out to our legislators, does that grant have a name that we could say this grant back in whatever?
I can go back and try and see.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. That'd be great. Yeah, if you can do that, that'd be great.
Thank you. And it might be worth, we'll work as a committee to put together something to our legislature and I think advocate for this funding. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
That would be awesome.
Would be.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any additional comments, Tony, Ms. Willis?
You know how it is when you give a lawyer the microphone, we never shut up, but no, I have nothing further through the chair other than to thank the committee for your patience with us. We hope that this has been educational for you.
Mhm.
Madam Prosecutor, we'll keep making presentations as long as you will let us do so.
Well, they've all been educational thus far, so we can allow it to continue.
As I said, this one, Madam Prosecutor, is well aware that there's a lot of
Yes.
interest in this area. And we thank you again.
Thank you both very much. Thank you.
Keep you on track for.
Yes, we're all set. All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you. Next item, please.
F, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
Not aware of any. Next item, please.
G, public comments.
All right, we're now at the public comment section of our meeting. If there's anyone on Zoom who would like to make public comment to the committee this morning, please unmute and do so at this time. Any emails received?
No emails have been received.
Okay, if there's anyone in the chamber who would like to make public comment to the committee this morning, please come up to the table and do so at this time. Right, public comment, all modes going once, twice. Public comments are now closed. Next item, please.
Adjournment.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Peterson-Mabers, supported by Commissioner Clemente for adjournment. We are now adjourned at 11:50.